This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, we are fortunate enough to have a guest, LuAnn Bennett, who's running for Congress to unseat Barbara Comstock in Northern Virginia. So welcome to our show, LuAnn. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Frank. I'm pleased to be here.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and tell us why you're running for Congress. Like everybody else is trying to stay away from the Congress because it's become a totally dysfunctional and disorganized.
Very good question. First, about myself. I came to the Washington area, Northern Virginia, 35 years ago.
Right.
Settled there with my husband, raised 3 children, and started a real estate investment business. 22 years ago, sadly, my husband died of leukemia, and I found myself suddenly a single mom of 3 little boys and the owner of a small family business in the middle of a recession. So
That's a tough life.
Very tough life. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I took over the business. It was all our family had. I had to make it work, raised my 3 sons. So 22 years later, I've transitioned the business to a construction business.
And you still own the business?
Still own the business, still growing the business. My sons are all in their 30s. They're
part of the family? They're part of the construction business also?
No, they all have their own businesses.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, I have 2 tech startups and 1 real estate private equity business in New York. So they all have their own businesses now, and they have their own families. My business is doing well. My employees are doing well. So I looked up and realized, that our Congress just isn't working, and it's not working for everyone.
So you want to give back to our country, our community to serve?
Yes. I feel like when you have the opportunity to give back, that you really need to give back to our country. And I'd like to help working families and small businesses catch up with the rest of our economy, so that we really truly have a healthy economy again.
So tell me a little bit about your business experience. How does it position you to be a very effective member of the Congress, especially most of the congressional people, politicians, and professional lawyers?
I think it prepares me extremely well to be functional in Congress. In the business world, as you well know, you go to work and you solve problems every day. And we never solve problems when we don't talk to people
and
we
you
don't
also know
agree
how to
with.
run a payroll.
Yes.
So you understand what it takes to run a business.
You know budgets. You know how to compromise. You know how to talk to people who don't agree with you. And you know how to solve problems. And this is something our government used to be able to do.
But not anymore.
Not anymore.
And that's what you bring to the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, my question to you, as I understand you work for Virginia's Climate Change and also Virginia Health Care Foundation. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how did that help you to be a member of the Congress where you can utilize your expertise?
Well, those were great experiences for me. In 2008, then Governor Tim Kaine asked me if I would serve on Virginia's Climate Change Commission.
Is climate change important? Obviously, the Republicans don't think it is.
No, I think it's critically
They're not
important.
talking to the right people. They're not talking to the scientists.
No, they're not. They want to ignore science and deny that climate change exists. And frankly, my opponent is one of the worst offenders in that area. Climate change is real. It is affecting our world, our globe.
No question
and
about
I'm
that.
very, very pleased that we're now part of a global coalition fighting climate change in a
talking about the one in Paris? There was a
substantive
sign?
way. Yes, yes. So this experience allowed me to work with both elected officials across the Commonwealth and the utilities and businesses, and we all came together to recommend policies that the state legislature could implement to combat climate change.
Especially when President Obama was able to work with India and China in terms of climate change. To me, that's the biggest accomplishment in terms of climate change, what he's able to do. Do you agree what he has done in Paris?
I do. I agree. I think America has to lead in this area.
So you'll be the spokesperson and a strong advocate
I absolutely
of the
will.
climate change in the Congress?
I absolutely will.
You may be a lonely voice in the wood. There are a lot of other people who shares your passion and commitment.
Yes.
It's not your passion and commitment. It's America's.
It is America's
It's America's challenge that we face. So, what kind of challenges and issues that your district faces, and what would you do to solve those problems, or what the first thing you will do in the Congress when you get there?
When I go,
I hope you get there.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Sure.
When I go out into the district and I talk to the constituents, the things that I hear the most about are traffic, difficult traffic and infrastructure problems, and education. Everyone in the 10th district is concerned about education.
You're talking about the K through 12 education, primary education, secondary education,
it's kind of
as well as is a combination.
The board.
Okay.
It's across the board.
So, especially the kids are drowned in a debt. Because
yes,
the tuition
exactly.
So what exactly do you agree with the Hillary Clinton just proposed in terms of the tuition reimbursement and also for the school?
I think she has some very solid proposals on addressing not only the current debt load, but the way that we avoid that going forward. And I think there is a broad set of policies that we can implement that will change that going forward. I think any child who wants to go to college,
they should be allowed to go to school.
College. I think students who don't necessarily want to go to college should have good options through our community college system.
Do you want to make community colleges free for the 2 or 3 years so they can learn the trade and the tools, especially in the manufacturing arena? Not everybody can go to universities.
Right, exactly.
So is that, do you believe, is this what she proposed? That's what Obama proposed.
Right.
Is that what you will be able to help in making sure the legislation gets passed in that area?
I would love to see that, just as everyone would. I need to see the numbers and how the numbers play out.
And
I mean, we need to look at the budgets, but if we can make that work, I think that's a great part of the solution.
My question to you is your difference, and I will get back to the diverse community in a minute. What's the difference between you and Barbara Comstock that you have that she doesn't have it that you bring to the Congress?
Well, I think when you go back to how we've spent our time, our professional time, we have very different backgrounds. Barbara has spent her entire career in partisan politics and
divisive politics.
Well, that has been a choice, and that is how that's led her to be where she is. My background is I feel more constructive. I've been in the business world, I've built a business, I've taken care of employees, I've created rather than torn down. I think that creates an outlook that's very different, a perspective, a lens, if you will, on the world and problem solving that's very different. And I am very concerned by the divisiveness that has built in our political system. I think it's very destructive to our democracy. I'm concerned with it. I think it's creating real obstacles for the United States going forward.
Now, as you know, the community that you're going to be representing in the Congress is very diverse. And that includes diverse means color, creed, religion, race, background, and belief. And Donald Trump is talking about building a wall of bigotry and hatred, correct?
That's correct.
And he's appealing to the fear, not to the hope.
That's exactly right.
So what do you tell this diverse community that you are with them, that you want to make sure you want to tear down their wall, you want to build the bridges for understanding and cooperation, not building a wall? Tell me a little bit about what's your thoughts on this thing.
Well, whenever I go out into our diverse communities, and I just attended 3 Eid celebrations yesterday.
As you all know, that Eid was just celebrated by the Muslims after the Holy Ramadan, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And what I hear when I go into the communities is they're very unsettled by the rhetoric that they're hearing out of some in the public eye. What my message to them is, this is not the America that our founding fathers...
These are not the values that binds us together.
These are not the values...
These are not the shared values,
we were founded on. These are not the values of a country that I want my children and grandchildren raised in, that I stand with them, and that discrimination against any one of us is discrimination against all of us. It makes all of us less safe.
Very well said. So attack one faith is attack on all faith.
That's correct. That's correct. And silence is not good enough. You can't just stand back and be silent in times
So you
of
have to be
hate.
active participant.
You have to speak out. You have to stand up. And I intend to do just that.
As you know, one of the things that's going to be very important in this election, and for you also is going to be important in addition to traffic, is the building the middle class that has pretty much diminished because of the fact that there's some of the manufacturing jobs you had in America is pretty much gone to the overseas, and we need to bring it back. We need to retrain and retool our populations. So there's three things, or four things are important over here: income inequality and justice in America.
Yes.
Number two is building the middle class, which has pretty much diminished. And number three is a job. And four is economy. What do you think you bring to the Congress to jumpstart the economy?
One of the first things that I would do is promote an infrastructure funding source from the federal government.
Do you like the idea that the infrastructure bank, in terms of the thing which is proposed by Senator Warner, as a matter of fact, and Barbara
Right.
Mikulski,
Right.
do you think you will come back and say this is the right thing to do?
I want to learn more about their proposals. I think they're onto something. I think something of that magnitude must be done. We have left states and communities on their own to solve these problems, and they don't have the financial capacity to really fix our infrastructure. The federal government must play a role in this. John Delaney in the House
Yes,
also
he proposed that,
has
right, he did.
an excellent proposal.
Yes.
So between Senator Warner's proposal and John Delaney's proposal, I think they're both valid. I think somewhere in that mix, we need to do something of that magnitude to fix our infrastructure. We have $2.4 trillion in deferred maintenance in our roads and bridges.
It's not only the roads and bridges, it's also the waterways.
Water systems, our airports, our
Airport
railroads.
systems, and the list goes on and on. It also will create a job, build prosperity.
Exactly.
It also brings the middle class into what I consider into the mainstream society, so they can have a roof on their head and have a food on the
Absolutely.
table. What's your thought on corporate inversion? You know, we have close to about $2.4 trillion.
Well,
Corporation have taken it and put it into the bank not in the United States,
Right.
but all over in
Yeah.
the foreign countries. What do you think we need to do, and why the Congress is not doing is to bringing that money back into the United States with a lower, in terms of the capital gain. Right now, its capital
Right.
gain is 20%. Maybe you could have a 15%,
Right.
and then have them in. It's not what you want to do is give it to the corporation, brings the money back, and they can give it to their stockholders, and that's not what you want to do. Have them invest into the infrastructure, have them invest into the United States, and build our economy. What do you think
This
of
is
that?
This is exactly what John Delaney is proposing.
Yeah.
Is
Well, he's a
combining-
business person, and
He
you
is a
will work
business
with him, and you
person.
will do a great job
Right.
in
Well-
complementing his expertise. And
Right. I'm encouraged that we have a number of business people who have been elected to public office. And as more of us get there, I think these ideas will have more strength and the ability to pass. John Delaney's proposal, at least the first phase of his proposal, is allowing repatriation
That's
of that
yeah,
$2.4
you're talking about the corporate
trillion
inversion.
dollars. Right. And then the corporate
inversion is they basically take what they're doing is creating a corporation in
Right.
foreign countries so
Right.
that they don't have to pay taxes, which I think is the wrong thing to do.
I also believe we need to look at our tax system. We need a fairer and simpler tax system. I think that goes directly to our corporate tax rates and the fact that they,
Do you want to reform the corporate taxes to build a little
I would
bit to
reform
have it a little bit lower what we have?
the entire tax system. I think we have the ability to lower tax rates, eliminate loopholes so that everyone pays their fair share. I believe that Americans understand the necessity to pay taxes to the country.
What do you think
But
of the taxes for the middle class?
They need to know that everyone's paying their fair share. It's a fairness issue, I think. I think that's where the anger comes from, is feeling like they're paying their fair share and others may not be. So I think if we simplified the tax system, we made it more fair and less of the ability of the wealthy to take advantage of loopholes, I think we would have a much better tax system and much less anger around that. and we could prevent or disincentivize things like corporate inversions.
Let's talk a little bit about the other concerns that the people have in America. Is the income inequality, injustice in America. It's just not the income, it's the gender inequality as well. Especially the women are not getting the equal pay, which I think is important, which is totally wrong. Shed some light on it. What would you do in the Congress? What would you do to solve that problem?
Well, I would fight for equal pay for equal work.
That should be.
There is a Paycheck Fairness Act that has been proposed in Congress. My opponent has voted against it twice, in spite of the fact that the 10th Congressional District in Virginia has the highest wage gap between men and women of all 11 congressional districts in the Commonwealth. I find that shocking. I don't know why that is, but it will not get fixed as long as our current representative stays in power.
Obviously, she's guided by her own self-interest rather than interest of her constituency and America's interest. And why is she doing what she's doing? You can't speak on that on her behalf.
I couldn't begin to guess. You'd have to ask Representative Comstock that
Let's talk
question.
about some of the presidential elections. Obviously, as you know, Hillary Clinton will be the first woman president of the United States, and it's not that she's just a woman. I think she's a very smart, savvy, vibrant, resilient, and she has the experience. I cannot think of a single person in the United States who had the experience and also to provide the leadership in a changing world. So, what's your thoughts on that? And what would you do to make sure she's elected and to make sure our opponent, who we all say is a loudmouth demagogue, a gifted demagogue?
I agree with you. Hillary Clinton, as in the words of our president, is the best prepared candidate or leader of a major political party running for the presidency. And that matters. It matters that we send people, put people in that position who know what they're doing, who have experience in what they're doing.
She's not going to be the apprentice in the White House.
No, she's not going to be the apprentice. She's been in the Situation Room. She's been in those positions. She knows the world leaders.
She will know how to work to work with the world leaders, especially Putin. I'm not sure how Trump will deal with the Putin. I have no clue.
I don't either. And his rhetoric and what he says about that makes me very nervous, as it makes many people nervous.
So the question that I have for you, before I talk to you, how people can contact you, if I remember correctly, Donald Trump is still able to appeal to 14 million or 4 million voters in the primary. I don't exactly remember the number. It's
14. It was 13 or 14 million
which is
people.
a high number. So he's appealing to certain constituencies, certain part of the people in this country. Why people are so frustrated and nervous about the whole thing? Why is he's talking about building a wall, he's talking about bigotry, hatred, racism, the list goes on and on. But he still was able to gain vote. Why is that?
He's tapping into an anger,
frustration, and fear
for a long time, and not without reason. There is a segment of our population that has been disproportionately affected by both globalization and technology.
What do we need to do to make sure we can appeal to them?
Education.
Especially the education, training.
We need to retrain them. Governor McAuliffe just said there are 3,000 unfilled technology and security jobs. 30,000.
I think he's right on that part. It is true.
We need to connect our training and our education to the jobs of the 21st century. We have a lot of work to do, but this is all solvable. We can fix these things if we have a Congress who's willing to work, who wants to solve the problems and not just point the finger.
So the other side of the aisle has become a pointless political theater. Is that correct? Now, my question to you is, before you go, you're running for Congress. If people wants to talk with you, get hold of you, wants to contribute, how do they get hold of you? And then I want to close this, our conversation is because you have a diverse community and the audience in your constituency, what's your thoughts on immigration? So first, you got to tell them how the people contact you, LuAnn.
You can contact our campaign by going to our website. It's www.LuAnnForCongress.com. We welcome involvement. We ask you to join our campaign. I'm very excited about the prospects of our country. We do live in a great country, and we need to keep it moving forward and not going backwards. So please join us.
What's your thoughts on immigration? I'm sure a lot of people in your constituency are very much interested in immigration. Do you think the House should really bring the bill like that have been passed by the Congress, by the Senate?
I absolutely do. It's been now almost 3 years.
Yes.
That the Senate passed a reasonable, comprehensive,
it's a comprehensive immigration
reform bill. That is how we need to handle the issue. The House refuses to take it up. We need to address that in the House and then negotiate, go to conference, negotiate a settlement, and get past this issue on immigration.
Immigrants has always been the bedrock of the small business, our economy in this country, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm a good example of being an immigrant who have made it in America.
We all are.
We are
at
immigrants
some stage in our lives. Yeah.
So my question to you: you believe strongly that we must have immigration reform?
We must have immigration reform. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming to our show, and good luck to
you
you as you undertake this new and solemn journey.
Thank you, Frank.
And this is Frank Islam wishing you a great week, and thank you very much for watching.